When we think about business, our minds usually jump to a single permanent company, right? But what happens when a goal is just temporary? Or what if making a profit isn't the point at all? Well, today, we're going to dive into two really powerful alternatives: the joint venture and the not for profit organization. Okay, I know what you're thinking. On the surface, they couldn't be more different. One is all about massive commercial success, and the other is about serving the community. But the secret that connects them is their purpose-built structure, which is totally different from your typical company. So to get this, we've got to look past that traditional idea of a corporation, the kind that's built to make money forever, and start exploring organizations that are designed for one single special purpose. And there it is. That's the answer. A big movie production is often a joint venture between studios, and a food bank is, of course, a nonprofit. Both of them operate outside that standard corporate model to get a very specific job done. So let's break down what makes each of them tick, how they actually work, and why their unique structure is the perfect tool for their mission. First up, the joint venture. The easiest way to think about a joint venture? It's like a supergroup in the music world. You've got a few successful independent bands, right? They all decide to come together for one massive album or tour. They combine all their talent and resources, but just for a limited time. And that word temporary is everything here. A joint venture is not a merger. It's a strategic team-up. Two or more parties, they're called co-venturers, pull their resources for one specific task. Why? Well, often because the project is super risky or costs a ton of money, way more than one company would want to handle by itself. A joint venture is kind of built to self-destruct, in a good way. It exists for one project, and when that project's over, the venture dissolves. It has this laser-focused scope and usually doesn't even need a fancy formal name. And before anything starts, all the rules, how profits get shared, who does what, and who's on the hook for what, it's all spelled out in a super important document called a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU. So, if you compare it to a standard partnership, a JV is a short-term sprint, not a long-term marathon. But look at that last row, liability. This is a huge deal. In a typical partnership, your personal assets could be on the line if things go wrong. In a JV, your liability is usually limited just to that one specific project. Big difference. And that's really the main thing to remember about joint ventures. They're strategic tools. You use them to tackle those big, risky, or super expensive projects that one company just can't or won't do on its own. Okay, let's completely switch gears now. We're going to look at a totally different kind of organization, one where profit isn't even the main goal. Welcome to the world of not-for-profit organizations, or NPOs. Unlike a business, an NPO's entire reason for existing is its social mission. So we're talking about charities, social clubs, public hospitals, schools, you get the idea. Their main goal is to add value to society, not to make money for owners. So if they're not selling stuff for profit, where does the money come from? Well, NPOs run on a completely different fuel. Their mission is powered by donations, grants, and membership fees from people and institutions who really believe in what they're doing. And this is where things get really, really interesting. Because in a nonprofit, the accounting tells a totally different story than it does in a regular company. It's not about the bottom line. It's all about being accountable to the mission. Exactly. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do the donors, the members, how do they know their money is actually being used well? The answer is in two special financial statements they use. So NPOs use two key reports. The first one, receipts and payments. It's basically a simple cash report. Think of it like a cash drawer. It just shows every dollar that came in and every dollar that went out. But the second one, the income and expenditure account, that tells the real story. It's kind of like a profit and loss statement, and it measures all the income against all the expenses for the year to see if the organization is actually financially healthy and sustainable. And this is the key metric. NPOs don't have profit or loss. They have a surplus or a deficit. And a surplus doesn't get paid out to owners like a profit would. Instead, it gets plowed right back into the organization's mission, usually by adding it to what's called a capital fund. So we've looked at two very different ways to build an organization. One for temporary high-stakes profit and one for ongoing social good. Let's pull it all together. So when you boil it all down, it's pretty clear. A joint venture is a temporary project, it's funded by its members, and its goal is to generate a profit from that one thing. A not-for-profit, on the other hand, is an ongoing mission, funded by the community, designed to generate a surplus that just fuels more service. And that's the real takeaway from all of this. An organization's legal and financial structure isn't just boring paperwork. It's a purpose-built tool. It's designed to achieve a very specific goal, whether that goal is to launch one blockbuster movie or run a food bank for the next 50 years. And that kind of leaves us with a final question to chew on. We've seen structures for temporary profit and for social service. So what other kinds of missions could we design organizations for? What does the future of creating value even look like once you start thinking beyond the traditional corporation?